Gig Gab, episode 512 for Monday, December 15th, National Cupcake Day 2025. Everybody likes cupcakes, right?
Yeah. I have no idea.
Greetings, folks, and welcome to Gig Gab, the show by, for, and about working musicians here in Durham, New Hampshire. I'm Dave Hamilton. It's middle of December. We've got NAMM coming up in about a month. We'll start talking a lot about that. In fact, our first coverage sponsor for NAMM is in. That's Ultimate Ears. Woohoo! Thanks to Ultimate Ears for helping us make NAMM happen this year. Today, my guest co-host is someone local here in New Hampshire. We've actually never met, but we have danced around in the same circles for many, many, many years, probably a decade plus. He is a musician, a fantastic singer, performer, a booking agent involved deeply in the music industry here in New Hampshire and beyond. Demetri Papanicolau, I hope I pronounced your name right, from Notso Costley Productions. Thanks for coming on the show, man.
You did. Great
Sweet.
job, man.
Woohoo. It's a win. That's a wrap, folks. No. Folks who have been listening for a while might notice the name of your booking business, Notso Costley Productions, and Paul Costley, who we had on the show and we mentioned several times, who started the business, and then you acquired it and took it over from him a few years ago when Paul retired from that work. But you had been working with him like in that for a little while, right? As kind of part of things. And did I get all the facts right?
Not well. I mean, I've been working with him, but playing with him.
But as a on this side of on the musician side of things.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that gives you a great perspective, just like Paul has too, because he always was playing, so he knew what musicians need, and you know what musicians need.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's no question about that. But I never did any booking stuff
Got
with
it.
him. Yeah. He was Brad Bossy, and then
Right.
he had Jimmy Magoon who
Oh,
was
yeah.
helping him out.
Yep.
And then there was another friend of ours who moved away, Chris. But yeah, he always had an assistant, and I was just playing with Paul.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. What made you decide that you wanted to take on this kind of a headache of a business?
Well, I mean, it just kind of all fell together. I was working at Fidelity Investments as a financial consultant for
Oh, okay.
22 years. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, when it all started for me, when I kind of got immersed back into the music scene, that was like back in 2006 when the Black Brimmer did their Rockstar Manch Vegas.
Okay. That's in Manchester, New Hampshire. Yep.
Yeah, it's in Manchester, New Hampshire. Black Brimmer is no longer there. It's been a few different venues since then, but
Yeah.
the Brimmer was the mecca for music downtown, right? And Josh Logan when he was in the limelight, he was on Rockstar Supernova.
Yep.
That was his first national show. He's later went on The Voice, but the first national show was Rockstar Supernova, and he didn't, he got, I think, up to top 12. Came back home, but at this point he's in the limelight here back in Manchester. The Brimmer decides to do a contest, and I entered and won the contest, and it was like 9 weeks long. It was you amass as many votes as you can, and there was
Yeah.
a big finals show, and it was incredible. I had the whole Fidelity crew there. It was nuts, and I win the contest, and then I partied with all the musicians for about a month straight. It was awesome. I would come out of jam rooms at 9 a.m, and it was great. It was fun because I just got pushed back into the music scene.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you
cool.
really were kind of out of it Uh,
My singing career, I mean, I was in a band. I went to my buddy's basement and his uncle Don was playing there, and they were all jamming out to Zeppelin, and I grabbed the mic and I started belting.
yeah,
This is in high school, senior year in high school, and they were like, "Holy crap!" So they took me every pig roast they had, and they made me sing AC/DC and Zeppelin and all the crazy shit. Um, so I I did that for a while, and then the really cool thing about that was I had no idea about my vocal instrument,
sure.
and I had no idea about that. But Don, my buddy Artie's uncle, he's like, I got to teach you some stuff. So I would go to his house, and we would just sing Beatles, and that's when he taught me harmony.
The Beatles
And
are a great way to learn
it it
harmonies.
really was, and I had no idea what he was doing, but he knew that I didn't, and he was really cool to do that. Taught me harmonies, and I was awful still then. Just had no
Sure,
control of anything.
sure. Yeah. Well, you got to
And
start
then,
somewhere. I mean,
yeah,
and I think
exactly.
that's an important lesson to remember. Is like nobody starts out perfect. We all start
Right,
out terrible,
right,
but with passion,
right,
right?
exactly. Terrible, but with very passionate. But
Yeah.
at that point, a buddy of mine, Tony, found out that I was doing that, and he saw me at Dunkin' Donuts on Webster Street here in Manchester, and kidnapped me, brought me to this house, and then made me join this other band with our buddies Greg and Glenn and Dave. And that band was called Kate at first, and then Reptile Jack. And that
Okay.
was that was they were musicians. They wrote music, and we were doing covers and some B-side grunge stuff, like
Okay.
some Nirvana, some Pearl Jam, Smashing Pumpkins, stuff like that. But because I was new to it, I wanted to play more covers. So I think that I was in that band for probably about 2 or 3 years. We recorded a demo. It's funny too. We recorded a demo at Bob Pratt's studio, and now I book Bob, and
You
we're
book Bob?
friends. Yeah, and he's
That's cool.
great. But I recorded the demo back then at his studio on the West Side, and it's crazy how everything comes around, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah. So
but
that
that
this
was
band, because I think there's an interesting uh, story that sort of has repeated over time with many of us. It sounds like, if I get this right, that this band was primarily an original band, and then it kind of got dragged into playing more and more covers. Is that what happened here?
it is, but they stuck to more of the originals,
Oh,
and
they held their guns. Okay,
they held their guns, and that's when me being new to it, I never played any instruments, didn't sing ever. I wasn't in choirs or chorus or anything like that. I just I just had some vocal abilities, and
yeah,
and I wanted to play more covers, so I ended up quitting. I ended up stopping, and
got
it
it.
was right around '92. I just started going to Northeastern University, and '92. This is an important date too when it comes to talking about. I mean, I don't want to drag out the story of my music career, but it's pretty cool how it all kind of unfolds. I went to see Alice in Chains, a channel in Boston,
Okay,
1992, when Dirt came out, right when Dirt came out. And after that, maybe a month or two after that, they couldn't play the channel again. It was
sure.
impossible. They
H-
blew
How
up.
about how big was the channel? Just so everybody who's listening understands.
The channel was probably about maybe 300,
Oh,
200,
oh,
200, 200. It
okay,
was just a tiny little venue, and it's incredible. Like, that show changed me,
yeah,
So, and again, it's crazy how all of that comes back because, yeah, I stopped playing, and I just didn't sing at all. Wasn't doing anything. And then I started doing karaoke maybe like early 2000s, 2001, 2002. And I started doing some songs. I'm like, where did this come from? It's like my voice had grown by,
Oh,
secretly. I
sure.
didn't do anything.
Well,
So,
I mean, you had a foundation. You had somebody that taught you how to listen, right? I mean, that like the harmony thing with your friend and learning all that. A huge part of singing harmonies, in my opinion, is learning how to listen, not just to yourself, but to the other singers and then to the other instruments. So you're hearing the chord and you can find your notes and find what blends. And just because you had stopped singing doesn't mean that you had stopped listening, right? You're still a fan of music. So
exactly.
you're training your brain all the time. I always say that going to see shows, once you play, going to see shows, even if you lose yourself in the show and you can completely immerse and just enjoy the show, there's still part of that is training us every time we see anybody, but local band, national band, doesn't matter. You're learning things every time. And
Right.
I think what you're saying here is there was a result to some of that learning.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And mm, it, I, it was crazy. It was weird. I was like, wow, I don't know where that came from. So I kept doing it. And then the whole thing happened with Josh. Yeah, I
yeah,
think before that I had submitted some. I was too old. This was around 2005. I was too old to do anything with the American Idol at that
sure.
point. There was an age cutoff for that. So I think I submitted a video to America's Got Talent. I never heard
Okay.
anything from there. Um, and then, the Rockstar Match Vegas happens, and all the people at Fidelity are like, just do it. And I watched a couple of the auditions, and the next day I was like, all right, throw my hat in the ring, and auditioned, made the show, and my life was like going this. It was on this line, and it just veered off at that point. That was where everything veered off because at that point I meet Nate, I meet Josh, I meet Paul. Paul Costley was in Josh Logan's band. That's when I became friends with all of them. And everybody, I was still working at Fidelity as a financial consultant, but everybody was like, join my band because I'm
Because you
like
could sing.
this. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could sing, and I'm like, I was a older guy, but I was still like a kid, which I still feel today. It's crazy because I'm a late bloomer when it comes to all the guys that I hang out with now. We're all the
Sure.
same age, but I'm like a 20-year-old kid, like ready to go. Let's go, Um, but yeah, total life change. Then I, became really good friends with Nate, Josh, Paul, and Josh couldn't do a show at the Dairy Field, and Paul was like, "What are we gonna do?" And Nate said, "I'll get D to do it." So that was my first show. He's like, "By the way, we're playing a show at the Dairy Field," and I was like, "What?" So we rehearsed for like a couple weeks, learned like 30 tunes. We played, and the Dairy Field was like, "We want them back." And that was it. That's how D Comp was formed. Dimitri and Nate Comp. D Comp
Right.
was formed right around 2008. I was hanging out with them for a couple of years after I'd won the contest, and that was
That's
it.
pretty cool. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, so there's a lot of lessons from this story. We've touched on a couple of them. The sort of the ultimate one is making networking, right? Making sure you know people and maintain good relationships with people, having
Yep.
talent, obviously having talent, but also being a good hang
Yeah.
because nobody wants to be in a band with somebody that sucks to hang around with, even if you're great on stage. Like, the
Sure.
David Lee Roth syndrome. It didn't start and end with him. But and then just being open. Like, I'm sure when Nate Comp said to you, "We're going to be the subs and you're going to front this band," that probably at some level terrified you a little bit. It would have terrified me even if I wasn't fronting the band. It's like, wait a minute.
My
This
gosh, I was terrified.
right.
Terrified.
but you did it anyway. And
Yeah.
that I think is like, I mean, it's a key to like life in general, but certainly a key to being a working musician is there are going to be those opportunities that terrify you. Those are the things usually, if they go well, that level you up, right? You
Yes.
know, nothing. You don't like improve not only your abilities but just um, your standing in any given community. It doesn't happen on a straight line. It kind of moves and then it jumps and then it moves and then it jumps, and hopefully the jumps keep going up because sometimes the jumps go down.
Right.
That's okay. Things happen. But that, I think there's a huge lesson in this, that just taking the opportunity and obviously being selective about the opportunities. You don't want to take something that's going to paint you in a bad light
Right.
or anything, but you don't decline just because it scares the heck out of you. That's the
Exactly.
key. Yeah.
I think that's a really, Nate always tells me, and of course, Nate is, everybody knows Nate. He's
Well, no,
just,
but many of our listeners don't. But that's okay. Nate is a
that's
staple. He's a fantastic guitar player and singer
amazing.
in the New Hampshire area. He plays all kinds of gigs, full bands, solo gigs, duo gigs, like all. He can do it all, and knows how to entertain. Has the
Right.
talent, has the skills, and then also we say on the show often. Our tagline is always be performing,
Always be
and
performing. That's right.
right, and Nate absolutely embodies that too. So
He
yeah.
does. He does. And he told me a long time ago, it's not about the gigs you take, it's also about the gigs you don't take. It's really, you have to kind of think about some things sometimes. And there were again, like I said, there were so many people that wanted me to join the band, but I was like, I want to play with these guys. I want to play with
Right.
Nate. I want to play with Josh. I want to play with these guys. And then
Yep. Sure.
too, because when I won the contest and I started hanging out with those guys, there was one party that I was at, and it was Vegas Temper, this band that was in Manchester as an original band. We were in their jam room, and Nate pulled out his guitar and started playing Alice in Chains. And I started singing, and he started singing with me, and everybody just sat there and watched us. And that's when me and Nate bonded. We left at 9 in the morning. Everybody had left, and we just kept playing music. And now, fast forward with everything that's happened, I become really good friends with them. Decomp is formed. We've been playing since 2008 together now. It's crazy how long that's been. Um, And then being such good friends with Paul, again,
Yep.
fast forward a little bit to catch up to, how I took over for Paul. I'm
Yeah,
at
we'll get to
Fidelity.
that. This stuff's interesting. We'll stay here for a little bit. It's all
Okay.
good. I got
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'll definitely, we'll talk about that.
For
But
sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the whole thing with Nate and the Alice thing. So it's COVID hits, and Paul and Nate, they do an open mic at Casey's Rib Shack. It's an amazing open mic every Tuesday night.
Yep.
Paul invites a guest vocalist from 7 to 8, and then the open mic is 8 to 10 p.m. And I was scheduled to do the open mic in October of 2020, and right at that point, I got COVID. And so prior to that, I told Nate, I was like, we should do the entire MTV Unplugged Alice in
Oh,
Chains.
that'd be fun. Yeah.
And we were gonna do the entire, we only had an hour, so we selected, the handful of songs that we were gonna do, and I get COVID, and then every musician got COVID. October to November was when the whole everybody in the music world got COVID. Every place was opening up.
It was starting to
slowly.
open. That was why. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Well, we all get COVID, so the show gets canceled.
Sure.
So we put that on the shelf, and now things are, maybe 7 months, 8 months later, things are starting to come back again. And I'm like, I want to do this, but since it got canceled, I said, why don't we get a bass player? So it's like, yeah, it's a great idea. So we get, I'm thinking Sean Cochran, great friend of ours, master bass player, amazing. And then I'm like, well, why don't we just add another second guitar? So Mark Fitzpatrick comes up, um, another good friend of ours. I'm like, well, while we're at it, why don't we just add a drummer too? And we just make a cool
It's
little
now it's
set
a
out of it.
band. Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's like, that's a great idea. So we enlist Simon Adamson, our friend, amazing, amazing drummer. So we're like, okay, now the show, the word gets out, and we're like, we can't do it at Casey's or Check. It would be a madhouse.
Yeah, yeah. It's not built
So
for a full
right,
band like that. Yeah.
exactly. So then we're like, okay, where are we gonna do this? And we ended up just forming the band, and we did it at Angel City, which is another venue that's in Manchester, New Hampshire. And we did the entire MTV Unplugged set, and then we did a full electric set after that. So our name, Rotten Apple, I have all the gear on right here.
Oh,
This is
nice.
Rotten Apple, a tribute to Alice in Chains. That's our band. And the crazy thing about the 92 show, the I, I created the set list after that. So it was just unbelievable to me because it was such a huge show, and it been moved me so much. And
Yeah.
now 20 plus years later, I'm performing the exact set that I saw them at the channel, and it's crazy to me. It's
That's
crazy.
that's pretty cool, man. That's
Yeah.
great. I mean, it I think it's important to remember why we do these things. I mean, there are those moments in our lives that inspire us to play music. I mean, you talk to people that are old enough, and it was like Beatles on Ed Sullivan, right? It's like an entire generation of musicians. But it's not only that, right? There are all those things. And seemingly little things when looked at from the grand perspective, but to each of us, whatever, like your moment of seeing that Alice in Chains show, that clearly meant something to you. And I love that you took that and ran with it years,
Yeah.
decades later, right? I mean, but
Decades.
still, it's there. And I think that's really important, like to say, hey, wait a minute, I really love the music of something. And especially playing in a cover band, and we'll talk about original bands versus cover bands maybe in a little bit because I play in both. But in a cover band, it's good to have a reason, right?
Right.
And something, and I mean, the overall reason, hopefully, is to entertain people, right? And
Right.
to share that moment where you're not just serving them, but it's that shared moment of playing music, and everybody in the room is on the same page and celebrating the music of whatever you're playing together. I like that. To me is the kind of the reason that we leave the driveway for a gig.
Right. Exactly.
Right. But I love that you really that this stayed with you enough to bring you this joy, and not just you, but all the musicians and all the people that come and see it. Like, it's clear when you go and see someone play if they are into it or not, right? And I
Of
mean,
course.
obviously, when you're doing this is like there's going to be no question about it.
There's
So,
no question. Yeah, you
yeah,
can't
yeah,
lie about that. And
no,
I like how you mentioned that, because myself and Nate, and I love doing the decomp stuff, which is just our duo, our acoustic duo.
hmm
We still, to this day, we always say it. We just said it the other day. We continuously say it, and I think that's why we clicked so much, because we're both perfectionists, and continue to strive to be better all the time, always be performing. You always have to do that, right? And you're always continuing to get better. You can't settle. And it doesn't fail. It always, every gig, we have a moment when either we hit a harmony, or Nate does this, a lick on his guitar when he's soloing, or I hit a note. We both look at each other, and it's between us. It's between
Yes.
musicians. Not everybody can get that. Musicians get it. I think a lot of people can, but
Yes. It happens. One of my favorite things about playing music with other people live, like not recording separately in the studio. That can be fun too. But there's
yeah,
something really special about playing music live where you get those looks. And it's not just a look. It is nonverbal. I mean, the entire and maybe this is okay. I haven't thought about this before. So let's tug on this thread. Playing music is nonverbal communication. Right. I mean, it is. You're syncing up, right, with another human in real time in a way where you have to be listening to each other. And so there already is this nonverbal communication that is at least somewhat scripted. Certainly you can have improvisational music that's not, but there's some script to it. But then I think perhaps because you are learning how to communicate with each other nonverbally with this script, it then makes it easier to have those nonverbal things that happen. That, it feels like telepathy, but maybe it's not. I don't really know. Right. But it feels like telepathy, and you get those things where you look at somebody and you both just know, okay, either here's what's going to happen next, or what just happened was cool, or even what just happened was not so cool, but we're going to laugh it off and move on, right? Like any of those things. That it's that nonverbal communication that it's hard to explain to someone who hasn't experienced it. And you said, musicians get it and other people can, and certainly other people can. I mean, I can have this with my wife. We've been together we've been married 26 years and together for 7 more beyond that. So like you get those, you have enough shared experience in life that you get those, you can like have those looks. But it happens much faster, I think, when you're playing music with people.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the moment when it's just kind of a look. You look at each other, you're like, wow, really?
Yeah.
We really did, and and it's hard. It's hard for a non-musician to experience that, but it is it's fantastic.
I think that might be why a lot of us musicians enjoy being close enough when we go see other bands, and especially when you're going in a big venue where you could be super far away. But we enjoy being I certainly enjoy being close enough to see when those moments happen. Yeah. I might not understand what the communication, but I understand that it is happening. And it's cool to see those moments like, oh, okay, there's something interesting. Like, that's cool.
Love it. Yeah, it's awesome.
You mentioned the first time that you and Nate realized you sang well together. You didn't quite say it that way, but like that moment of bonding as harmony singers, I think there is something absolutely to that. And it is, to the comment you made about Nate saying it's not about what you say yes to, it's about what you say no to as well. When I was looking for Casual Gravity, which is the band that you book sometimes, or we play some rooms that you book, I guess is a better way to say it. When I was looking for a band, it was about 1.5 years ago, I realized that I was playing in like 3 different bands that kind of played enough to match each other's schedule, and it was perfect. And COVID kind of killed off 2 of them. Nobody died, but just the restarting schedules of everybody everybody kind of went in different directions. And when I realized that, it was like, okay, I have Bitter Pill, which is the original band that I play in. But really that band only plays occasionally and in the summer. And it's more about managing saturation because with an original band, it's good to have like full crowds. And, if you're playing the same songs all over again, You got to manage that right. And we do, and it works out great. And that band sells out most shows that it does, which is fantastic, but doesn't play quite enough to like soothe my soul. And so I started looking for another band. And I didn't like have a list of things that I was looking for, but I knew what I was looking for. And I auditioned with probably 8 different bands, and not to toot my own horn, but every single one of them called me the next day and said, "You're in." And I had to politely decline their offers each time because the auditions are two-way things, right? You're both looking for what's going to fit for you. And I knew I was looking for something where there was some magic, not just in the moment, but also potential future growth, right? Like, where is this project going? I don't just want to be in the garage, but I want something. And Casual was really interesting because they have their stuff together. They're organized. They have the whole Casual Chronicles thing, which is like a YouTube series. So they understand the idea of putting out content when you're not performing, which I think is really important to keep the fan base engaged and active and all of that stuff. But they weren't a vocal band. They had songs where there was harmonies. And Tom and I, when we started singing together at that audition, it was like, okay, this can go somewhere, right? And we all realized it. It was like, great. Okay, Tom and I can sing well together. We have 2 other people in the band. Certainly Jeff, our guitar player, like understands how to sing harmonies. He just needed some confidence and some assignments really to learn how to blend with us. Tom and I figured out how to blend together pretty much in that first like audition. It was just
That's
like
awesome.
there was no work to it. It was just, here we are, great, we can do this. Amazing. Right. Now we can add a third harmony. Like the work comes now because we could sing together all night long, but now let's add the third harmony and turn this into a vocal band because that is a thing that is a differentiator and, candidly, more fun for us on stage too, right? When you get those, when you can assemble those harmonies and when they work, and they don't always work, but like then you work towards it, right? Like you're the perfectionism. But I think being aware that there are those moments, like you said, you and Nate had, where you bond with someone musically and vocally. I mean, it's all kind of the same, but different. But being able to find those moments and knowing that they are out there is important, and it's okay to wait for them. I mean, you don't want to wait forever, but they are there. And it's not the same. It does, just because you and Nate sing together and Tom and I sing well together doesn't mean that you and I would sing well together. I think we probably would, but like you don't know until you know. John Donahue in Monkey Fist and I, same thing. The first time we sang together, it was like, okay, well, this needs to happen a lot more. Like, there's this is just butter. So. And that's happened with other people too, but not everybody. It's not. Just because I can sing harmonies well with certain people doesn't mean it's I can do it fine with everybody, but it's not the same as that magic moment. I know. It's kind of what you're talking about here with Nate.
Totally. It's and when you find it, like you said.
Yes, hold on to it.
Yeah, and you just keep working too. Like it's I don't want to say work because playing music is so much fun.
But it is work. It's important.
You yes. Your time in and continue to strive to get, better. And I love that about Nate. That's all he does. And he that rubs off on me, and we're both kind of the same, cut from the same cloth with that. And fantastic. It's continuous growth. To this day, it doesn't end. You think, wow, that was an amazing gig, but the next day is just as good. Yeah, sure, you're always going to have that 1 or 2 gig where you're a little off, but
sure,
most of the time it's just always great. It's always great. And I wish that all musicians get to experience that, and because I'm really fortunate. I get to play with Nate, and and the bond between us is fantastic, and we really make great music together. But it's just, I hope all the musicians get to experience that because it's phenomenal. It's so
It's phenomenal.
phenomenal.
There's nothing like it. I know.
No,
Yep.
and then
It's
you
addicting,
know,
is what it is.
it really is. And what you said, I think a little while back about a good hang too, like the guys that we have in Rotten Apple now, all pros, great guys. And then with the addition, when we added Jim Rose is our friend, and he is our production manager,
Ah,
front of house engineer. Jim Rose is, I don't know if you know Jim Rose.
no.
Jim Rose is master. He's this summer he was on the road with Fuel, Melissa Etheridge.
Oh, wow.
I can't remember who else he mixed this summer, but he's done pretty big shows, and he's Midas guy. He has all Midas
Yep.
gear. I mean, the gear that we get to use that he's built for us. He's built our in-ear rack. He's built everything, and he's the sixth member of the band.
Yeah.
So having Jim with us now takes us to a whole other level. So, but everybody, including Jim, and everybody in the band, the six of us, just phenomenal. Great
Yep.
people, great hang, great, we're great friends, pros. It's awesome. Such a great project right now.
I think that having a front, we talk about this a lot on this show. I mean, it's no secret that my part of my goal with Gig Gab is to train every musician to understand how front of house works, even if you're never going to do it. It's why I wind up having front of house engineers on the show to talk about stuff, because
Right.
the more we know on stage about what they are doing, and also the more they know about what we're doing, the better it's going, the better that partnership is. Like, and your comment about how Jim is a sixth member of your band, that is a great way to approach this, even when it's a one night thing, right? The front of house engineer at whatever random club you pulled up to, they are your bandmate for the evening.
Right.
I mean, it's a good way to approach it, right? It's a collaboration. It doesn't need to be a fight, even though sometimes it is.
Right.
But it's never good when it's a fight. It comes up with, you get some good stories, but it sucks. It's much better when you can trust that person not only knows what they're doing, which hopefully is table stakes, but understands what you're trying to do so that they can reinforce that with their job. Like it's
Right.
where are the harmonies coming in? Where's the guitar solo? What does the band sound like in general? That kind of thing. Super important. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
All right. So this is great because we've had some great stories and some great lessons here, but also we've made it very clear that you are a musician first here. You understand, you love to play, you do play, all that would happen regardless of whether or not you had this other gig, but you do have this other gig, which makes your perspective really, really interesting. So you, with Notso Costley Productions, you work for the. Is it right to say that you work for the rooms in a sense? I mean, I know you work for the bands too. I don't want to say that. I don't want to paint this the wrong way. But you have certain rooms that have contracted with you to fill them with music. Is that the kind of the right way to approach it?
Um, so I don't have any contracts with any rooms.
Oh, okay, got it.
No contracts.
Interesting.
It's just because
Th-
Paul had built this agency for 30 plus years, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So the loyalty that they have to him, and that has been passed on to me, and it's also just, yeah, if a venue wants to stop music, then no problem.
That's
We
how it
see
goes.
out. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's how it goes.
yeah.
So I work. I think you can say it that way. I work for the venue, and I also work for the performers.
And I can attest
It's
to this. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like I'm okay. They want to book their summer schedule, no problem. I'll take care of that. And then I my stable, my roster of musicians, performers, solo duos, trios, bands.
Yep.
The primarily book more solos and duo rooms. That's the majority of my booking
Got it.
venues. But of course, I book plenty of band venues as well, and I've continued to add venues.
That's great.
But but yeah, I work for both. And
Yes.
being a performer, I think it's great because I'm like, I feel like I'm the coach, and if somebody can't do something, I'll jump in and play some defense or offense or whatever. I'm there to be able, like, I'm also in their shoes, the performer's shoes, so I know exactly what's going on out there.
I think that's yeah, right. You understand what both sides is. It really sets it up to be this adversarial thing that it's not. It's a collaboration, but you understand what both different businesses need, right? A venue is a business that operates in one way, and bands are a business that operate in another way, and there are some shared goals. But there are also some different facets to the individual businesses that just, aren't the same, obviously.
Absolutely. Yeah. So,
And you navigating those waters. Yeah.
yeah. With venues, I'm working with the GMs, the managers, the owners, sometimes making sure I have meetings with a handful of them. We have our yearly meeting to go over the entertainment, what worked, what didn't work, what are we going to do for the upcoming season. Um, you know, I there's a list. I tell them to give me a list of performers they didn't like because that's sometimes that
Absolutely.
happens.
Yeah.
Somebody just
It's the wrong fit.
Yeah, it's the wrong fit. It could be a great performer too. And I always tell when I have to have that conversation with them, don't take it personally because sometimes it just doesn't fit. I rarely get those.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do, but
But
it's
yeah, I mean,
very
even
rare.
as a performer, if you're willing to be self-aware, when it's not the right fit with a venue. Like it happens sometimes, and it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
It's okay. Right. Yep.
Exactly.
And you can learn something from that. One of the things you can learn is this type of venue or this specific venue isn't right for me. Or you can say, I would like it to be right for me. So what, if anything, can I adjust, change, adapt to be better for venues like this down the road?
Exactly.
And, like all of those things are like everything comes with a valuable lesson. It's just whether or not you want to see it.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Sometimes it's hard, but yeah.
And the good performers will do that. Will adjust, and that's a sign of a great performer who, a good gigging musician who wants to continue to grow and fit in different places. You can adjust your style wherever you go.
Absolutely.
It's all about
for sure.
reading the room.
Yes.
Read the room. You have to read the room. Just
Casual
adjust.
Gravity will play a different set list at a club like the Dairyfield than we would which is more of a I don't even know the right way to describe this. It's a party bar / club with a clientele that is a mix of people, but certainly the urban professionals are there, right? But and an older crowd, and we'll play a set list there that caters to that. That is a different set list than we will play at, say, the Chop Shop, which is a biker bar.
Absolutely.
It's slightly different. I mean, some of the songs are going to be the same, but there are certain songs we will absolutely not play at the Dairyfield. They're just not appropriate. And similarly, we wouldn't play some songs at the Chop Shop because they're not appropriate for that room. It's like you said, reading the room. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So while we're talking about things that bands can do to help you, let's dig into that. What are some things that, and we can actually go to both sides of this. What are some things that bands do that can help you, but also what are some things that bands do that maybe cause you to deprioritize them?
Well, I mean, I think that bands first and foremost, I mean, I have such a huge roster and people continuously trying to send me info. I think having a good EPK and having a good promo kit, to put out there is very crucial and important.
Okay.
To to try and get on any agency, any roster. But once you're on there, I think it's just responsiveness. Making sure that you're on top of that, responding to, you know, emails, being available, as much as you can
Sure.
to to perform, do the gigs, and then staying on top of your schedule. You know, that's obviously. I mean, there's one of the things that
I
I've
can
learned
tell
here.
there are stories happening by looking at your face as we're having this conversation. I can tell there are stories happening. Obviously we're not here to sell anybody out or anything like that. But if there's a story you'd like to tell while keeping while protecting the innocent, feel free, but also don't feel obligated.
It's really there's really nothing that it's a mixture of everything.
Got it.
I think that you just have to think both sides. Just be responsible. Like if something comes up, I know that things come up, and
Of course.
that's the probably the biggest thing that I have to juggle, especially in the summer when I'm booking the most. I have probably about 50 plus venues in the summer. Um,
Yep.
it's a lot. So, if you're not feeling well, great, let me know either the night before. Don't tell me at 3 o'clock before a 6 o'clock show. It's that's crazy. Just let
Yep.
me know right when you wake up. And then
Yes.
I can start working on it. I
Right.
get it if you're not feeling well, or if something comes up. I also understand that you can't control that sometimes. Work, family, there's life. It's just life. And I get that. And the thing is, like you said, I'm a performer as well. So I know if I'm not feeling well, I'm like,
Yep.
I'm either gonna tough it out, or I, let Nate know, and we
And you figure it
work
out.
on it. We figure it out.
So
But I also
I'll tell a story then that definitely involves both of us here, and it's me and my band, so it's okay to like tell everything. The first time, so the Dairy Field is this room that you book. I played there through you and through Paul with other bands, but Casual Gravity had never played there until this year. We weren't the right band until this year to play there. Talking about adapting to a room, right? Like, and I'm pretty sure if it wasn't our first gig there, it was our second gig there. But our first gig there, Tom, our singer, and Jeff, our guitar player, were deathly ill. And like the morning of the gig, you at some point you'll probably remember this story.
I think I remember. I was actually playing up at South Peak.
You were playing, right?
I was playing up at Loons.
And Tom, to his absolute credit, was like, no, we're not going to cancel. Like the day before we're talking, he's like, no, I think I'm okay. Whatever he had, like, accelerated like crazy from like 9 a.m. the morning of the gig till noon. He just went south fast.
Yeah.
And so we have this text trail happening. It was in the winter and there was a snowstorm due. And so there were like all these factors. And I've told this story on the show before, but never with you here. You and I have never had this conversation. Right. And so at 9 a.m. when Tom's like, man, I don't know, and I can see like he's waiting for one of the rest of us to be the one to pull the plug. Like, he didn't want to be the one to pull the plug. And I give him a lot of credit for that.
Yeah.
However, like you said, the sooner you make that decision, the easier it is for all the rest of the people that it's going to impact for that evening, right?
Right.
And so, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, there's still this thing happening. And I see where it's going, right? And I'm like, okay, so now it's like 12:30, 1 o'clock. And the text trail is heating up. And I'm like, guys, like, it's time to make this is a make or break point. Like, this is too late for this. But if 2 hours ago was the best time. Now is the second best time. Right. And so
Right.
I can see the text trail happening, and I can see Tom kind of like starting to think, oh man, like I might need to be the one. And so I called him, and within the first 8 seconds of our conversation, he said hello and then just coughed the entire time. And I'm like, okay, Tom, I need to tell you something. And he's like, whoa. Like, we are canceling this show. Like, what are we going to do? We can't, like, sure, I can sing, but I can't sing all the songs that you sing. And this is not going to work. Like, we can't hobble this together last minute. Like, this is not going to happen, man. He's like, well, I don't know. Demetri's going to be mad. I'm like, it doesn't, like, these are the facts, man. Like, we got to do this. So I said, it's on me. I know I'm the new guy. It's on me. I'm canceling the gig. And he's like, okay, thank you. And then, of course, what we did was, the four of us all, he contacted you, of course. And then the four of us were reaching out to every musician we knew to see if we could, at least toss you some names of people who might be available, because that's what needs to happen in that moment. And
Right.
I actually, I don't remember how it ended, but
it ended with, there was no way, because I was on a break. Yeah.
That's right. You were on a set break. That's right. Yes.
Break. So I was like, no idea when I
know.
going through. And I'm like, and it hasn't happened. It hasn't happened like in the 3 years now.
Sure.
3.5 years. It's only happened twice, I think, where I'm like,
no option.
there's nothing I can do.
Yes.
I usually pulled out something.
Right.
Something.
Yeah.
And in this case, it was John DeGange. I was sitting he was there, and his duo, he's in Last Kid Picked, and his duo, Chuck Alamo, they do the duo Chuck and John. They just did a duo that night.
Amazing. Well, thank you for making that happen. Yeah. and
well, thank them too,
Yeah, right. Thank them. And thank you for not just crossing us off your list after that.
No.
Well,
obviously, at that moment I'm like, what the?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I mean, yeah. I know what you like. If
we made a habit of this, or if any band made a habit of this, that's a great way to become deprioritized.
Exactly.
For all the obvious reasons.
Right.
Like,
right.
yes.
And I've had that happen where,
of course,
like, I can't do it. And
I played with someone in a trio that absolutely did that too. We will not mention any names here, but maybe we'll talk about it after the show. But because there's no reason to. But I've definitely seen that happen where someone is just, or a band, an act is too inconsistent with their schedule, and you need reliability, I would presume.
Yes. Reliability is huge. Being reliable, being available is, and as I'm in my 3rd year now and starting to really, get comfortable with the performers, the venues, the day-to-day things, aspects of the agency. It is. I get more of a sense of, but like what I need to do with what some performers, like I get to learn the performers.
Yeah.
I mean, it just becomes a little easier to deal with, the situations.
Yeah.
So
well, there's personalities, right? There's personalities of the clubs. There's personalities of the performers, but not just the individual performers, but the acts themselves. Like how reliable are they? How communicative are they? I actually have a question. This is interesting, but to me anyway. You hear feedback from the venues, right? When you finish these, when a band finishes a gig, especially a band that is new to the venue, potentially even new to you. Other than putting on a good show, which again, table stakes in my opinion, What are some things you hear from venues, positive or negative, that bands do? Like, what are some things that bands can do to to endear them more to a venue or to not sour the relationship? Are there any of those kinds of things that come to mind as you hear feedback from venues?
I mean, the feedback I get, it's it's not so much. There are some venues that are focused on draw and they want, in and but it's not always about, like, I think most of the venues that I book are good in a way that they know that, like, if I have a new band in there, it's they don't have a draw around here, but they have to build that.
They got to build it.
Build
Sure.
it. You got to build it. So
Yep.
I think that I think the feedback I get is that no, they performed well. They were pros. They didn't do anything crazy on the mic. You're professional. You perform well. You perform the right songs, and that's the feedback I get sometimes. And other times, I get feedback like they didn't perform well and they were kind of all over the place, and we don't want them back.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense. Yeah.
And because I'm wearing both hats. I'm wearing the hat from the venue, working with them and the performers. I kind of abide by their wishes, right? So if a venue doesn't want a performer back, that's that.
Well, that's that. I mean, if you were to force that, if you were to schedule that without, somehow without the venue finding out, that would sour your relationship with them. That would be career suicide or some form of it, right? That's
Right.
not smart. So
Right.
that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I am keeping, the venues happy.
Yes.
And that in turn is allowing me to book my roster of performers. So my relationship is with the venues is key to the performers working and getting gigs. To make sure I'm cultivating that relationship with the venue and doing what I need to do and making them happy and keeping them happy. And then also I am for the artists where I have been, raising rates, solo rates going up, duo rates going up. I'm there for the performer too. And I tell the venues, I'm like, look, I have to raise these rates. They've been at this level for way too long.
Yeah.
So I'm slowly but surely going through all my venues, all my newer venues. I'm at my higher rates. When I
Okay.
add a venue, they're starting out at the rates I have for
The
solos
current
and
rates.
duos,
Yeah.
trios, and then bands are mostly negotiated. So
Okay. If you don't mind, and if you do mind, it's fine. But if you
no,
don't
I'm
mind,
nice.
what is that current goal rate, and what was it 3 years ago when you started for let's say a duo or something, just to kind of level
Yeah,
set.
the solo rates I want to be at 230, 250, somewhere in that realm.
Okay.
And then the duo rates are 450 to 5 in that realm.
Okay.
And then the trio rates are, 660, somewhere around there, 7. And then bands are, in the 8, 7, 8,
Yeah.
nine
Yeah.
thousand, depending on, your history with that venue,
Sure. Sure.
and some of the bands that are really, really killing it right now, are doing great and they're up at a higher level.
Yeah.
It's
Makes
A-list
perfect sense.
prices, right? It's
Yes.
A-list prices. I mean, I have some A-list performers on my roster that solos will get a higher
Hmm.
rate.
What?
I book
Okay,
them.
so you're at 230 to 250 for a solo now. What was that 3 years ago? What are you raising that from? Just
It was
just a level set.
200, and then
Okay.
some midweek stuff, which is still there, is around 170, and
Okay.
that's slow, but it's just midweek stuff, It's also dependent on how much the venue books music.
That's
Some of
fair.
those,
Sure.
yeah, some of those venues are booking, you know, 7 days a week, and that's a lot.
Yep.
So okay,
Yep.
I can understand that. We have a little bit of a break then, and then the weekends are at the level they, you know,
At the higher level.
from now, right?
Yeah.
So it's but for the most part, those are pretty much, yeah. It's I've basically, adjusted most of the rooms, but again, there's still some rooms I need to adjust.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that you're doing that. It's really interesting. We've talked for, almost 11 years on this show about how rates are set by the collective, right? In any given market. And it's fascinating hearing from all over the country where rates they are not consistent, right? And
Right.
the types of bands that work are not consistent in different places. For the first 9 years of this show, I had a co-host, Paul Kent, who lives in California and was playing primarily in the Bay Area. And when I would tell him what we would do here, it would blow his mind. Like the fact that, especially on the New Hampshire seacoast, that original bands can develop a following and like really have a solid ability to play live here. He's like, that does not happen in San Francisco. He's like, that's just not what people are interested in. And that, but like really interesting. But we've talked long about how rates, are often a race to the bottom in some places. Having an organization like the one you run actually allows for some for that collective to have a focal point, if you will. And
Yeah.
I think that's great that you not only are recognizing that you have that responsibility here. If you went and set your rates for solos to 100, that would change everything. That would lower the rate for people that don't book through you too, right? The venues that don't, right? So it's interesting that you have that responsibility, but you're not. I mean, obviously you don't want to gouge the venues. The venues need to be profitable businesses for all of this to work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we say, of course, here, but sometimes, it's like, well, I packed up my truck and I loaded out. It's like, well, if the venue's not making money, this is at best you're playing the short game, maybe not even that.
Yeah.
Right. So, I love that you're finding that balance and realizing that there as things happen in the economy that like the inflation happens here too, and I think that's great, man.
Yeah, it is a balance, because I want to be there for my performers. I'm one of them. I'm with you. I
Right.
understand, but then again, you have to. There is a balance with the venues too, because it's making sure that they're happy. Like you said, if they're not profitable, then they're not going to be there for me to book the music. So
Right.
I have to. It's a fine line, balancing the relationship with the venues and the relationship I have with the performers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All the feedback that I have heard is that you are doing a fantastic job. So on behalf of all the musicians in New Hampshire area and beyond, thank you. And I that's
Awesome.
That's not lip service. It really, I mean, I grew up in Southern Connecticut. There was a series of booking agents down there. Let's say that there was one who did essentially what you do and was hated by every musician. Universally, like it wasn't like, oh, he didn't book me at this venue, I hate that guy. It's like, well, there might be a reason for that. Like he was not a performer, right? And I know that Paul always was, obviously, Paul Costley, who started the agency. And my guess is when you guys had a conversation about you acquiring this from him, that part of the reason he felt great about it was A, he's played with you, and B, you play. Like
Right.
it was a similar mindset that was taking the reins here, and I love that. So
Yeah, it is. It's great. I'm so happy that, I love hearing that. Um, I mean, I haven't changed the name because respect Paul, I mean, he's
Yeah,
like my second dad, we're
that's
so
awesome.
close. And he was a trailblazer, right? He's the one that created the agency, and I just don't see it necessary to change it. Maybe sometime down the road, but right
Sure,
now it's just, carrying on his legacy, his tradition, and and I love when he tells me he's so happy that I took over, because I he tells me all the time, and it's awesome. And
that's
I
great.
just want to make it proud. Obviously, for me, it's obviously a complete change from what I was doing.
Yeah, man.
Financial consultant. I took a when he wanted to retire. I had a voluntary a VBO buyout option. So I took a buyout option retirement package from Fidelity.
Amazing.
I qualified right at the same time, because I was there. I was there for 22 years. So they were offering it to people who were 70 or 50, or your age and plus years of service if it got you over the 70. And I
Got
did. I
it.
qualified. So I right when he was going through what he was going through, and Paul wanting to retire, I was like, well, can I buy the agency? And he obviously offered it to Brad first, because Brad was
Sure.
with him. And
Yeah.
Brad had kind of ducked out of music and was in the real estate
Yeah.
game, and politely declined. And that's when it opened up for me, and I was like, I'll do it. And that's when I put my BBO in and said
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
retiring. So 12/31/21 was my last day, my Fidelity. And at that point, I haven't cut my hair.
Ah, that's awesome,
I
man.
went from the corporate life to I just haven't cut my hair. I mean, I have since then. Yeah, I've
Sure.
trimmed
Sure.
it a little,
Sure.
but that was when it started. So it was awesome. I love it.
I love that. And stop cutting his hair. That's brilliant, man.
But again, it's so great to hear, because that's what I want.
Yeah.
I try and again, be there for the performers, be there for the venues. And really nice to hear that everybody says that about
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
agencies.
I hear nicer things about you than I did about Paul. Just don't tell Paul that. No, no, no. I'm just kidding.
He actually tells me that. I'm sure he knows it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Paul was on the show, folks. So if you want to listen to Paul's take on running a regional agency like this, I'll put that link in the show notes too. You will hear many of the same philosophies. You'll hear some different approaches and things like that, because the conversation just took on a different spin. But
Sure.
the vibe is definitely the same. And I hope I know that some of what we talked about has been informative for people thinking about how to work with someone like you, but also just how to work with venues. And I think that's super helpful. What I hope is that this inspires someone somewhere in the country or in the world to realize that an agency like this would help their general area and start one. Because the places that don't have this, it is a huge benefit to live music in the area and maintaining live music, because it's a pain in the neck for venues to manage this on their own and to be able to outsource it. The fact that you don't have contracts and yet your business is solid from year to year really speaks to, A, you do a good job, but you also are simply doing a job that the venues are not skilled to do.
Right.
And don't want the headache of learning how to do, and can't really afford to hire someone full time to do it, right? So that's what an agency is all about. You work part time for lots of different places, and it
Right.
works out for everybody, right? I mean, that's essentially what this is. And I think there are many areas, many regions that could benefit from something like this. So hopefully, one of you out there says, opportunity is knocking. So, Demetri, thanks for taking your time with us. I know we have gone longer than we anticipated, and I love that. Before we say goodbye, two things. First, tell people where they can find you, please. if they want to
Sure.
follow you. And I'll put links to whatever you mentioned. So
Yeah. Notso Costley at Facebook sites for Notso Costley Productions, and I post all the daily reports are on there every day. Uh, whatever days of the week I post the entertainment schedule on
sure.
both my personal page and the Not So Costly page.
Cool. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I'll put links to both of those in there. The last thing I said, there were two things. The last thing is we do have our catchphrase here on the show, and I know we've both said it a few times, but we always like to say it as we say goodbye here. So if you would do the honors, I would love that.
Absolutely. Always be performing, people. Always be performing.
Love that. Demetri, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Everybody else, thanks for listening. What a blast. If you want to find Gig Gab, of course, giggabpodcast.com. You can sign up for the mailing list that gets you all the show notes and everything right to your inbox. And always be performing, folks. We'll see you next week.
See you, miss.